Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Business Roaches. Today, I have a really fun prompt.
Okay.
So it's not really a question for you or for us, but it's kind of a discussion. So I went on
for the class.
Yeah. I went on ChatGPT, best friend, and I asked, if you were a co-founder or a founder and you were 5 years into your business, what's the best advice you would give?
Oh my God, what did I say?
Yeah, so I want to go through it and see. So the 7 pieces of advice. 7. What do you think they'd say?
for if you just say it again.
You're a startup founder and you're 5 years into your business. So about where we are, right?
I think it's first congrats.
Yeah, I know. ChatGPT.
They didn't congratulate you
That
for being
bitch.
for 5 years in.
No congratulations.
It's rude.
Yeah, no real celebration. That's kind of annoying.
Okay, that should be number 1.
Yeah.
Is
okay.
holy shit, you made it in 5 years.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Survived.
Yeah, you survived.
You were a roach.
I don't know what they would say. Give me 1 and then I'll react.
Okay, so number 1, audit and double down on what's working.
Okay.
Which is a good one. We actually probably just at this point 6 months ago were like, let's actually only do what works.
Yeah.
So that's a good piece of advice.
That's good because you kind of I feel like you're always so hopeful as an entrepreneur, and you can get really fucked up with what you think is working versus what's actually working
And what's bright and shiny.
Yeah.
Because you want to try and be innovative all the time, and
Yeah.
there's a point where your business has to actually sustain and make money and be profitable and sustainable.
And you got to look at what's actually working, and what you want to do and what's actually working could be 2 very different things, and so you kind of have to figure out the negotiation between those 2, which is so hard because you may have started for one reason. We started in the B2C space and we wanted to innovate gifting and, the gifts you send your girlfriends, but really where our business pivoted is so different, and it's a great place to be because it actually fits our backgrounds a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it's just so crazy that it's just what is working versus what you want to do.
Yeah, and hopefully there's some marriage between that, but it is crazy how much you have to pivot. And I think that's pivot's just such a common word in startup world, but
pivot
but you
pivot.
you really do. There's no getting around it. Okay, so basically the little subhead here, look at your data, what products, customers, channels are bringing in the most revenue, cut what's not working, reinvest in what is.
Yes.
Number 2, which we know this one very well, especially the past few years, keep an eye on profitability, not just growth.
Correct.
And that's it's startup 101. Every business goes through that extreme, well, not extreme growth, but everyone goes through grow, top line revenue, grow, show the numbers, profit will follow. And it's so insane to me still at these companies out there that are not profitable.
Yeah.
And with
some big ones.
With so much investment, it's just nuts to me. And we've been in some of those companies, we've worked with some of those companies. It's just wild to me.
And some of those companies don't exist anymore.
Yeah. And some don't survive. So that I think, especially in the beginning, thinking about profitability.
I think definitely 5 years in. If we're talking 5 years in, you need to at least know, or at least be on track for profitability, or know how to get there. That,
Yeah.
You have to know that. Otherwise, what are we doing? Is it this really expensive hobby with other people's money?
Yeah. I can't imagine, also because we're self-funded, I still can't imagine having the weight of having other people's money invested.
See, I think we differ in this regard because I would love to spend other people's money versus our own for once in our careers.
Yeah, it'd be I like the idea of it, but the weight of that, and then you're very, we're responsible.
We're gonna get 15
anyway.
calls from investors after this saying, hey, I heard that you really don't want to spend our money, but
and you're very careful. Yeah.
You're really careful, so here's all the money. And
I
just,
maybe it's just we've been just so careful.
My number.
We've just been so careful because it's our own money. Maybe it'd be different if it was other people's money, but
just kidding, keep calling us.
What Bestie said, if you haven't already, shift from a grow at all cost mindset to a sustainable, profitable model. Margins matter more as you scale.
100%.
ChatGPT MBA.
Yeah, I think too, for us, your background's in marketing and I was a creative director. So literally we just all we knew was marketing, spend. So that's a huge shift for us. And I think a lot of people probably don't have as much of a free wallet when it comes to marketing, but we know the value of marketing and what a dollar can bring in if it's done correctly. And, so I think for us, we definitely had to learn that lesson the hard way.
But I also think we did the right thing in that, look, we made lots of mistakes. Obviously, we made lots of mistakes, but you have to drive at least some awareness when you are most relevant. And that's what we did during COVID.
We definitely did. But there was a point where we should have stopped earlier.
Yeah. The space changed and we didn't, it's everyone's story. Okay. Reevaluate your role. Your company has evolved, and so should you. Are you still doing the things you should be, that should be delegated? Make sure you're working on the business, not just in it. I don't know how many times mentors, people, advisors, friends, founders have said that to us, and it's so true. It is so hard to do. It is so hard to do.
I love delegating.
I love delegating, but it is hard to not always work in the business, and how balancing that line of when you have to like hire versus when you have to partner versus when you have to do it yourself is hard. I'd say especially 5 years in, because you're at that point where there are things that absolutely have to be delegated. Yeah. You may not have the full budget to do so. So you have to figure out, is it a contractor? Is it a intern? Like, what is the thing that is going to solve this problem?
I'm going to add to ChatGPT's too. I think you have to be okay with B+ work, or like even C+ work maybe. I think you have to. Yeah. Like, you can't, like, you are one person and you know everything about the company and you know just everything. No one's going to be as good as you. And yes, you should hire the experts in things that you're not experts in. So I'll always say that, and that's true. However, when you're delegating, you do have to really understand that it's not going to be the way you would do it. No one's going to care as much as you care. So like, you have to let go. And I think a lot of founders talk about this all the time, the letting go. And I think part of it is not just like, oh, I'm going to relinquish control to this person. It's that I'm going to relinquish control to this person. It's not going to be as good as I would do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
In some cases, you know?
Yeah. And also like, taking the time to train people so that way they can be on the same vision as you and like on the same path as you, which is also hard because then you as the founder or as the manager have to then take the time to do that, and it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time.
I'll tell you, I fucking love delegating though. Yeah. I think it's the best. I think it makes people feel important, which empowered. I love. Empowered to do what they're helping me achieve a goal. Like, I think it's like the most powerful tool that founders don't do enough. And if you bring someone along, it's always helpful to have a second pair of eyes. Yeah. It's always helpful to like have someone else share the burden. Yeah. It just helps your mental problems.
Yeah. Mental load.
So I'm like obsessed with delegating. Everything I can, I'm like, do I have to do it, or can someone do it? If someone else can do it, chances are they're doing it. I'll check in, I'll help guide, but no, I like love delegating.
Who, not how. Mm-hmm. Okay. Number 4, ChatGPT says, strengthen your leadership and culture. Your team is everything. At 5 years in, your biggest job is making sure you have the right people in the right roles and maintaining a culture that attracts and retains A players. Yeah. And that, I remember one of our mentors had told us there's a moment when you hit 10 employees where everything changes and your culture kind of
hit that, and it was
and it gets away and the culture kind of gets away with you from you. Like at 10, you can kind of control a little bit more, and like you're in it. You know every conversation. You know the gossip. Once it's 10 plus. You kind of like, it escapes you, and there are things you don't know. I remember when that happened to us, and we were like, what? Like, we didn't know things were happening, and we were like,
it's shocking.
It's weird because you feel like you're this like tight-knit thing you've built, and like then things happen without you knowing, and it's wild.
It's very cool though.
It is cool.
It's cool, but it is weird. Like all of a sudden there's drama that you didn't know about, that you're like, you have to have conversations with people that you're like, oh, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with you because I would never have guessed that you are this way.
It's surreal.
But I think culture is so important, especially when you're look, startups are hard. Being in a small knit team, like that's hard for everybody, regardless of whether you're the founder or the admin assistant. It's a challenging place to be. Everyone's relying on each other. So I think it's just really important. I think everyone has to like, truly talking about people, like you need the right fit, because you're going to ask things of people that are out of their job description, and is that okay to do? Or are they going to feel like, oh, I'm not paid to do that? Or are they going to understand that like you have to get this job done, and are they a team player? So I think like just having that culture is so important, and I think we've done a really good job fostering it. And I don't know, we keep finding these amazing unicorns, and they're so gung ho. We're very lucky, but I also think we've had a couple duds.
And I think we interview knowing that too. Like I think
we were very honest in our interview.
We're probably too honest in our interview.
People probably back out a lot more than they. No, but then the ones who are excited are really in.
I think it's if you're running a small business or like, mid-size, like a startup-y like vibes, you need someone who's going to feel that entrepreneurial like spirit. And like actually something kind of funny that we've learned is there's people in our organization that like have other family members who have small businesses.
Actually, most people.
And that is huge because they understand. They're like, I understand what's happening right now. Like I understand the ups and downs. I feel it. I get it. Mom lived it, or my uncle does this. Like it's nice to have that, like they understand.
I also think we recently hired, we have a new hire. We're very excited about her. And I asked her, I'm like, what do you like most about this role? You know, she's like 3-4 weeks in. And she said, you know, it's not really the work. It's really, I really believe in the company. And like, I just like melted. Like, I was like, that is the nicest thing I've ever heard. And it just goes to show people don't leave positions. They leave people. They don't leave because they don't like the work. They don't leave because of that. They leave because the culture. They leave because they're not appreciated. They leave because they don't believe in the vision. And I think that's like a really important thing to just really hone in on. Yeah. Because if you're a startup and you're small, you might not have the most money to offer. You might not have the best hours to offer. You might expect a lot of your people. So you really need people who are going to understand, and maybe have that uncle who started that business with their aunt. But yeah,
definitely. And I think we always like to say we have like a no asshole policy. No assholes.
No assholes.
It's too hard. No one can have an ego. Nope. I mean, nope.
Not a happy box.
So number 5 on ChatGPT's list of advice to give a startup founder about 5 years in, reassess your market and competition. The landscape has changed since you started. Are you still differentiated? Are there new threats or opportunities you're missing? Stay sharp on market shifts. And it's funny because pivot. But it's funny because I was thinking about this. Like, I've heard, and this is it's not on this list, but it's actually another prompt we were going to talk about. It's been interesting living this kind of journey, and like, where and how do you look at competition as like a threat, as like something to aspire to do, because sometimes you're inventing something kind of new or innovating something new, so your competition isn't exactly doing what you're doing. Maybe you're like one step ahead, or like, you know, a little bit version of it. But what do you think about that? Like, how much should you be watching the competition to make sure that you're ahead, or, you know, or at least to inspire?
I think in those 5 years, you should be looking at your competition and really understanding. But I think the pivot, I like that this is further down. I think you have to keep a pulse on what's happening, what's out there, what people are, you know, where your clients are coming from, if you have clients, or, you know, what other threats are out there. I think you always have to have like a pulse on that. But I do think that doubling down on what works is kind of doing this in a more positive way, in a way that makes more sense for your business. So I think you can't really, like, look, if I'm like looking at a competitor all the time and they're doing something that does not work for our business, those two things can really conflict. So I think you have to negotiate with yourself. I think the primary, which I love ChatGPT for saying good job, Chat, but like in the beginning, or at the, you know, the first one of the first points, just like focus on your business. That is the primary concern. That is like literally the primary concern. What's working for you, your profitability, double down on what's working, etc. Yes, keep an eye on stuff. Like, yes, but I would say it's probably like 10% of what you're doing, not 90. Yeah. I would say 90 is really focusing on the business, not really like looking outward.
And I think too, it's like there's a few things you should look at. It's competition, to your point, like maybe like an eye on competition, just to know what's going on, and also to know what your customers are seeing when they're searching, and like what are they being served, right?
Definitely.
But also listening to your customers, and that's
100%.
a big goal of ours. And that's another thing that was always told to us is like when you're small enough, you can still talk to your customers like a human. Like you can still get on the phone with a customer, and I think that is probably more important than talking to your competition, or like, you know, stalking your competition, because competition, I mean, we've been told too, which I agree, is like it can be a big distraction.
Huge distraction.
Because a lot of the competitors in any space, they just chase each other all day. Yeah. And if you're just chasing, like we've seen fast followers of our business, and like truly they just copied everything we did, like every design we did, everything we did, and we're like, God, that must be exhausting. All they're doing is watching and following. They're like, so anyway, but it's interesting.
Yeah. I think there's a time and a place. I think in the beginning it makes sense because you want to see what other people are doing, what they're investing in. But I think you really have to shift to what's working for you more than what's working for other people.
Yeah, it can be a distraction. Okay, next. This one, I think this is like actually a huge goal of ours in 2025. Optimize your systems and automation. Look for inefficiencies in operations, customer service, and fulfillment.
Okay, yes.
The more you automate, the more you free up time for growth and strategy.
100%.
Love that.
Literally, yes.
Yes.
Like, yes. That should be number 2.
That's like a huge goal of ours.
I think once you have the points 1 through 6 under control, I think the next step is definitely automation. I think if you have something that works, automate it. If if something is profitable, double down. If you have like, it makes sense. I think what we've learned, and early on, like when we kind of exploded during COVID, we had to create our own fulfillment portal and our own way of doing things, and it was really challenging, and we've optimized that a lot, thank God, because now we can kind of we can grow and flex as we need. But yeah, the systemization of all of our business is so important to me. It is like, I don't know why, something like snapped in 2025 and I was like, this must be automated.
Yeah.
And so I 100% agree. I think once you have a well-oiled machine, once you know points 1 through 6, I think you absolutely double down and you just fucking automate the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, next, and this is the last one. It's funny.
Is that not 7?
That was 6.
Oh, so 1 through 5. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So the next one, don't burn out, play the long game. This is a marathon. Take care of yourself, find peers or mentors to keep you motivated, and remember why you started in the first place. And I actually think this is something that we try to do. We had like a rough start to this year, but had some lot of changes. But we try to do like kind of our like business planning and North Star exercise, basically the beginning of every year to talk through the next year. We started that. We started our planning sessions.
I remember.
Beautiful deck made by V. No, but we really have to revisit that regularly. And for us, it's kind of annually that we revisit that. But I think that's an important thing because, I mean, we've talked about this all the time. Like your goals, even as a human, change. Like we had kids in our lives changed, our goals changed. So making sure we're thinking about what we actually want from this business. What do we want to do in this business? Yeah. And what is this business serving? How are we serving our customers? Again, like year over year, we have to, be on top of it. So
I think every year there's a moment of, all right, what are we doing this year?
Yeah.
Like, what are we focused on? Like, what are we doing? And I think even though it's not in your pretty deck yet, or maybe it is, I'm not sure. But, like, I think you have to have that, like, conversation anyway with yourself, with your partner, whatever it is. And, like, it changes. It changes every single year. And it's not, an exit. That's, like, my goal. Like, yeah, that's cool, but like you need like 100 steps to get to that exit. Like that could be your ultimate goal, but like what are we focused on as human beings this year, knowing all the things that we have going on in our lives? And honestly, the best thing we did was, I think, 15 months ago. So like the start of 2024, when we both were burnt out and we were just like, what are we doing? Like, what is our goal? Like we were really honest with ourselves about what our goal is. And if we took one step back, would we be proud of the work we're doing? Would we be like, you're working like an asshole for what? Like, what are we doing here? And so we took like a big step back, and that actually allowed us to grow and propel the business forward. So I think it's really important. Definitely, you're going to burn out. Like, let's just, no one's sugarcoating this. You're not going to avoid burnout as an entrepreneur. I mean, if you are, please call me because I'm curious how you're doing it. But, or what therapist you're using. Because, but honestly, I think you accept the burnout. You kind of take turns burning out, or you kind of have systems in place that you can burn out, I guess. But I think it's really about taking a step back every year, at least, at minimum, and saying, okay, how am I going to get here? And I think this year for us, it is definitely the systemization and like automation of things and the refocus on the profitable part of the business. So that has been like our like come to Jesus moment where we're like, we really got to be honest with ourselves. Like, is this working? Yes or no? Is this working? Yes or no? Okay, it's not. We got to cut it. We got to cut the focus. This is working, double down. What do we need? We need to hire in this direction. We need to pivot people in this direction. So it's honestly everything they're saying, or whatever chat is saying, I think is totally true. Yeah. It's just they all kind of work together in a really interesting way.
I think the one thing that's really interesting is like, if you think about a traditional business plan, and like you even think about traditional business planning, like when we worked on big brands in our previous careers, it's like, there's no discussion about like how you feel in the business, like ever. Like in business school, they don't talk about it. In a traditional business plan, there's no slide about what do you want as a human, like how are you feeling, and that gets kind of like, not to get into mental health, but like really the burnout is real when you're a startup entrepreneur, and like you have to figure out what's going to your point, it's not avoided, like it's not going to be avoided. It's how are you prepared for when that happens? What are you going to do when it happens? Do you have like the support system when it happens? Because it will 100% happen.
I think also like this year, like I'm having a baby in like a month and a half, and like that's something we have to prepare for regardless of what state of the business is in. So it's just you take that step back, you try not to burn out as best you can, you put systems in place so that you don't burn out, so you can we don't like doing stupid work at Happy Box. We try and offload as much as we can, automate as much as we can, so that it's less stupid work that we're doing. So when someone's on something, a person should be on it versus just like churning and burning work. We don't like to do that at Happy Box. But I think the systemization has really helped us with kind of figuring out where our attention should be. And again, like everything, like the numbers, the profit, all that.
Yeah.
And then, you're probably going to burn out anyway.
But those conversations, like you said, like I remember the day that we had this conversation. We decided to go to breakfast. We like swiped, like removed everything from our calendar that day, went to breakfast, and we were like, are we okay?
Like, is this,
are
like,
we
how
okay?
we're
Is
gonna
this
do
what is this our life? Like, are we just going to work like animals all the time and not get support we need?
And the funniest
do
part
we even want to do this anymore? Like, what are the
Yeah.
things what are we doing here? And that was so helpful.
But the minute we made the decision to make certain hires, reinvest in certain ways, we grew.
Oh, 100%.
So, and it's like the thing that everyone says, that like you hire for growth, you hire people who will get you there. And it's like so important as founders to remember that it is not all on your shoulders. You do have the opportunity to, hopefully you have the opportunity to hire and just kind of get people who can help propel the business. And honestly, like I would never want to go back to 15 months ago, but I think we're having the same conversations now about, maybe hopefully less dire, but just what are we doing? What's a plan for the year? I think once we have like that, then everything kind of, you have to have it fall into place and it has to fit into your life too.
Yeah. Well, I think ChatGPT did a good job of
5 stars.
advice. I don't know that I would add anything like,
I think you have to celebrate still. 5 years is a
that's
huge
true.
moment. I mean, that's like, what did people say? We just met with the founder who was, super successful guy. He's like, sold like 100 businesses or whatever, and is on one right now that is super successful. And he said that you're in your, what are you, a senior when you're...
Oh, yeah.
What
I like this. Like a sophomore.
Nice. Yeah, he was like, how many years of business are you? All right, so you're basically like a sophomore, so you've made some mistakes. But you're smart enough. You're almost a junior. Like, he was just...
You're experienced enough, but you're not a freshman anymore. But
I think when you're in your 5th year, you get it. You're in your groove. You kind of are like, okay, and it's time for you to really take control of that business. It's an exciting time.
And it's a make it or break it time because you're at a point where you're probably encroaching a revenue number that is like, again, there are those moments. There's like the 10 people. There's like the 10 million. There are these like benchmarks as a business that like really change the game. It changes everything about the business, how you operate, your role entirely. I think we're at one of those points too. So
it's exciting. So if you're hitting it, congrats.
But the thing that was missing on this list was the celebration. So that goes right into our win of the week.
We're currently ending Q1. And so we just are wrapping our biggest client of the year so far, which again, I know it's only Q1, but we're really excited about it. It was a huge labor of love, a lot of work, a huge name, which we'll tease. It's a financial institution. That's what I'll say. But it's been like a crazy couple months, but honestly, out of, the thousands of gifts we sent, we had 2 customer service problems. So I'm like really proud of that. From a logistics standpoint, that was seemingly impossible. So
it was a logistical nightmare, but that's true. That's a good win.
That's
biggest client of the year so far, biggest campaign of the year, and easily the most complex campaign we've probably ever done.
Ever.
So
I'll just give
that's a big win. That's not a little win.
Everyone picked their own gift, and we had fresh baked cookies, and we did international orders. So it was like just like a
logistical nightmare.
And so for our gift of choice, I'll just get into like one of our offerings really quickly because it's actually awesome. Everyone can pick the gift they want up to a certain value. So every order is 100% unique. So you could pick like one high value item. You could pick a few lower value items. So every order is literally unique. That's already going to be really hard for thousands of people. On top of that, this client wants fresh baked cookies.
Same day fresh baked cookies
in every single order.
Our bakery loves us.
Our bakery wants to murder us. But, I think we're going to wrap at the redemption window was a week and a half, which was the shortest we ever had. We had a 93% claim rate.
It's insane.
Which is unbelievable. That's the highest we've ever seen. And we've done this for, like I said, there's thousands of people.
Yeah.
And to have such a short window is like kind of crazy. So I'm very proud of it. And again, like 2 customer service issues. 2. That's like insane.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, okay. That was a great win. All right. Well, tune in next time for more conversations about being a business roach.
Yeah. Survival.